The Gold Rush, identifying the location of goldfields on an Australian map. So today we are learning to identify key areas in the Australian Gold Rush. We'll be having a look at the placement of different goldfields around Australia. Your success criteria for this lesson. So I am looking for you to be able to identify key areas on a map of Australia, mark these areas correctly on the map, and research locations of goldfields if needed to help you. Gold was discovered in Australia before it was considered a nation. Traces of gold were discovered prior to 1851. However, it was kept quiet by the government as there was fear that the convicts and settlers would leave their settlements in the hope of striking it rich and finding their own gold. In February of 1851, Edward Hargraves found gold near Bathurst, New South Wales. This find was very exciting, and within a week, it is reported that over 400 people were digging on the site for gold. Within 4 months, there were 2,000 hopeful diggers. Eureka, striking gold. Eureka is a Greek verb that means I have found it. A modern synonym might be woohoo. Although the term was used when gold was found, the first discoveries of gold in Australian colonies were not always celebrated. In fact, the first few times gold was found in Australia, authorities pretended the finds did not exist. They quickly hid any evidence of the precious metal's discovery. Why do you think that is? Gold crazy. Despite multiple reports of finds from the 1820s to the 1840s, leaders shut down any attempt to start an Australian gold rush. They worried that any discovery of gold would send convicts into a violent frenzy. It was not until 1951, following the success of the Californian gold rush in the USA, that the government began to promote gold and encouraged gold publicist Edward Hargraves to mine it. Let's have a closer look at Edward Hargraves. Edward Hargraves was born in England and arrived in Sydney in 1832 to try his hand at making money through business. In 1849, he sailed to America for the Californian gold rush. He returned in 1851 with knowledge of the techniques, panning and cradling, and with the hope of finding gold in Australia. With John Lister's help, he found specks of gold in Lewis Ponds Creek in New South Wales. He publicised his find at a place he named Ophir, near Bathurst, and reaped a £10 government reward. Within weeks, hundreds of hopefuls flocked to Ophir. The shaping of Australia. The Australian gold rush was actually several rushes to goldfields across the country. Australia was made up of many colonies at the time, but gold wealth helped mould the many states into the prosperous nation we know today. Remote outback areas and small gold mining towns became bustling, wealthy regions, all teeming with people from all over the world. On the next slide, see whether you can spot any connection between the location of the mines and today's populous cities. So on this slide, we have our gold rush timeline, which shows us what year different goldfields were started. So we've got the following goldfields that were in 1851. You can see the matching gold nuggets as to their placement. You're going to need this for your activity later on. In 1852, just the one. 1857, 1860, 1861. Now we've got our first two in Queensland at the moment. So that was our Canoona and our Claremont. Calliope in 1862, Cape River in 1865, Gympie in 1867, Couple in 1868, 1870, 1871, 1880, 1885, 1887, 1888, 1891, 1892, 1893, 1906. Now I want you to have a look at the placement of some of these gold fields. If you were to have a look at a map of today's Australia, what main cities can you see line up with some of these gold fields? Gold in New South Wales. So let's have a bit of a closer look at each of these states and the gold fields in each of them. So Edward Hargraves was the first to discover gold in New South Wales. So his discovery led to the thousands of miners rushing to Lewis Pond Creek and Turon River. The gold found in these areas was alluvial gold, which was found quickly. So greater riches were found deep underground at Hill End, where miners created shafts up to 275 metres deep. This is where Bernard Holterman and Ludwig Byers found a chute of gold weighing 315 kilograms, which was valued at £12,000. So New South Wales is also accredited with being the first state to use steam-powered equipment to run their mines. Gold in Victoria. Government La Trobe offered a reward for anyone who was able to find gold in Victoria. This offer was made to stop everyone moving to New South Wales. So in Ballarat, August of 1851, Thomas Hiscock was rewarded £1,000 for finding gold at Buninyong, which is south of Ballarat. In 1852, gold had been found in Ballarat and 20,000 miners came to pan for gold. In 1864, Ballarat had 300 mines and 64,000 miners. When we moved to Bendigo, this was a very productive mining town, known for its deep underground quartz reef, which were found up to 2 kilometres deep. Gold was also found in the Central Highlands, in Castlemaine, Clunes, Chewtown, Maldson, Maryborough and Beechworth. Victoria is the richest goldfield state with about 1,000 tonnes of gold found just in the 1850s. Victoria is responsible for producing 40% of the world's gold. Alright, now let's have a look at gold in Queensland. So in 1858, 8,000 Victorians alone rushed to Port Curtis. However, the promise of gold was exaggerated and the findings were actually very little. The Victorian government had to donate £15,000 just to help miners return back home. So if we have a look at Gympie, in 1867, John Nash discovered gold in Gympie. It didn't take long for this news to get around, and 2 months later, 25,000 miners had relocated to Gympie in the hope of finding gold. Gympie required deep mining, which started and continued for as long as until 1925. If we have a look at the Palmer River, this was known as a dangerous place to mine. The Palmer River was very humid and hot, and the miners were bitten by insects and snakes. 17,000 miners were in the Palmer River by 1877, and 7,000 of these miners were Chinese. Over 5 million worth of alluvial was mined. Mount Morgan. So Mount Morgan is near Rockhampton, and in 1860 gold was found. However, a mine was not developed until the 1890s. During this time, Mount Morgan was the richest mine in the world. Now, we've had the word alluvial gold come up a couple times now in this slideshow. As a little bit of homework, I want you to see if you can research to find out what alluvial gold is for me and send through an email with your answer for me. So now looking at gold in South Australia. So the South Australian government offered a reward of £1,000 to the first miner who could find payable gold in the colony in 1851. Mr. Chapman was to claim this reward within the year. 10,000 people came all around to mine Ekunga. Sorry, I'm not sure exactly how to say that one. However, the gold was gone very quickly. So Titulpa, Thomas Brady and Thomas Smith discovered gold here in 1866. Titulpa is north of Adelaide and the conditions were hot and dusty for the miners. 5,000 miners found 3,000 pounds worth of gold. Gold in the Northern Territory. In Pine Creek in 1871, construction workers building an overland telegraphy line between Alice Springs and Darwin found gold by accident. A great deal of the workers for the line left this job to search for gold. When we moved to Tennant Creek, this was the most successful mining in the Northern Territory. Gold was originally found in 1895, however, mining didn't really begin until 1932. Tennant Creek is still has an active mining industry today. Gold in Tasmania. So the first discovery of gold in Tasmania was the eastern coast in Fingal. In 1859, it was here that they set up Tasmania's first quartz crusher. On the Tamar River, in the deep shaft Beaconsfield mine, this mine produced 77,261 pounds worth of gold by 1905. However, by 1914, the mine was no longer productive and it was closed. Gold in Western Australia. Western Australia was actually the last state or territory to join the gold rush. However, it proved to be the richest. Coolgardie in 1892, Arthur Bailey and William Slapp found gold near a waterhole in Coolgardie. It was this discovery that started the town. Gold is still being mined in Coolgardie today. Kalgoorlie in 1893, Addie Hannon, Tom Flanagan and Dan Shea found gold 40 kilometres east of Coolgardie. Like Coolgardie, a town was built around this discovery and is now known as Kalgoorlie. Kalgoorlie was and still is today a very productive gold mine. Rush to the diggings. Within years, gold miners were set up everywhere, giving life to flourishing new towns and growth to established settlements. Many hopeful diggers quit their jobs and moved to these areas to strike it lucky. The thought of being set for life was very tempting. Given the influx of miners, the goldfields quickly became dangerously overcrowded. Did you know that the term diggers dated to the old gold rush? Where else might you have heard it? Keep it to yourself. Some enterprising people had the bright idea of keeping the location of new finds to themselves. Christopher Peters and his colleagues kept their discoveries secret, mining without anyone knowing. But it was only a matter of time before they were seen and word got out. To prevent people from hoarding their finds, a government incentive awarded a handsome sum of money to anyone who reported a profitable goldfield. Okay, so now it is your turn. Using the map and the location markers, which are your little gold nuggets with the town and I think the date on them, you are going to place them in the different locations of the goldfields on the Australian map. You can go back through the slides, through the video to help you if you need, or you can do some additional research to help you find where these are located on our Australian maps. Have a go. Once you've had a go for yourself, you can move to the end of this video, which will show you the answers. However, I'd really like to see how well you go by yourself first. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email.